to today on BKRsport. We've got something special here today, something I haven't really done before specifically. I've had podcasts where I've spoken to players of different sports and whatnot, but, I've never really been able to kind of do it myself and kind of just get a bit of a one-on-one chat going on with a player, and especially a player of my team here, the Gold Coast Titans. I'm here with Toby Sexton. How are we doing, champion?
Good, thanks for having me today.
Yeah, no, it's good, man. Obviously, just before we jumped on here, I see that you've got your Chicago Bulls shirt on, which I love to see because everyone here knows I'm also a Bulls fan. So not only do we have a Titans player who's also a Bulls fan, this is like my dream come true here, Jen.
Oh, what are the chances of it, eh?
Exactly.
I think I'm on the bandwagon anyway. I think I'm on the bandwagon. Golden State.
Oh no! Oh my goodness me! Now it's
Golden
all over show.
State.
Okay, well, we're going to move on now. We're going to end this recording, and we're going to just forget what he said that. Yeah.
I thought that was going to happen from that.
That's all right. But obviously, you're obviously a Gold Coast Titans player. For everyone who doesn't know, he's the up-and-coming seven there, the halfback. How are you feeling with everything? And we'll get a little bit more into the transition a little bit later on. But how's it been going with the club at the moment?
Yeah, it's going really well. We've had a really good preseason, I think, and we've grown a lot as individuals and a team, and we've made some really good adjustments and improvement going into the 2022 season. And we're really looking forward to just play a bit of footy now.
Yeah, dude, I'm so excited, man. I'm so excited. We've got only a couple of weeks to go now, and we had a very positive season last year, and then we'll get into how it ended, but it's still a fantastic season regardless, just because we got into that eight and whatnot, and it's good to see that the club is building. But I do have a big question for you here first before we jump into the actual footy talk of this. I want to say, obviously, you're known as Sexy Sexton. We're always on our live streams, man. I call you Sexy Sexton, sexiest of Sextons. But there is a question here. There is also Johnny Sexton for the Irish rugby team, who's a very good player. He's played for about 400 years now. He's a long-time player. And then there's also Colin Sexton of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So my question for you is, if there was a battle of who was the sexiest Sexton, who would win?
I don't put me on the spot there. I'd have to say rugby league, so I'm taking the glory there.
Mate, you've got to take it. Just, buddy, back yourself in, man.
I'm taking the glory there. Well, there's actually, who's the other fella at the Suns? Alex?
Oh, Alex Sexton. Yeah, there is another set. Well, there you go. Sorry, Alex, but you've unfortunately been shunned here. Yeah, there's too many Sextons, mate. There's too many.
NRL over AFL any day anyway, I think.
Here we go. Now we've got the AFL fans on the channel. Here we go. I can see the comment section already. But
it's not anymore.
Yeah, but the official word is, I know people, they queried me on my streams. They were like, you keep saying Sexy Sexton, but there is the Johnny Sexton over there. I'm just like, shush, all right, shush. It's Toby, all right. It's Toby. But anyway, how's the off season been going, man? Because you were saying there that you guys have come together as a team, and you're quite young, and it's good to see how you guys are transitioning. What have you been up for the off season?
Well, personally, I think a big goal for mine was physically I needed to put on a bit of weight, and I've been able to do that. I put on 4 kilos, and I'm up to around 87, 88 kilos at the moment, which physically I'm feeling a lot better and feeling like I'm prepared for the season ahead. And I think it's about developing some combinations we've got there as well with in regards to myself, AJ, Jaden, and then obviously Aaron and Tanner for the 9 position. I think we're all pretty close mates as well, which helped the transition early on there. And now I think we're really confident as a spine, and we're really looking forward to playing some footy. And we've all said to each other how fun it's going to be if we're going well too. We're going to have some fun time together, I think.
Absolutely, man. Obviously on the Gold Coast too, it's and this is something that I'll bring up a little bit later too, in regards to the fact that the Gold Coast is a party place. You're from the Gold Coast, I'm from the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Well, I think you were born in Sunnybank though, weren't
you? Yeah, Brisbane. I was born in Brisbane and moved here when I was 1. So I've basically grown up my whole life on the Gold Coast. So, no, I was just saying that's the thing that you can get caught up with, especially when we had them bad periods of footy here. There's so many other things to do on the Gold Coast, whether it's partying, the AFL's here, surfing. There's so many other distractions, and we want to make, I think our goal as players is to make rugby league the priority on the Gold Coast. And I think that just comes back to if we're winning, obviously people want to come watch us play. So, yeah.
I think that overall the Titans have always been the priority, but in the same sense, because there is so much to do, it's not as much in regards to sport anyway. Rugby league has always been the one. We obviously had the Gold Coast Blaze that they disappeared, and we've had the Gold Coast Suns in a very much rugby league dominant state, and also well away from the dominant AFL states there with the Suns. Also, we had the A-League one stage at Gold Coast United, and we've had teams over the years, and it's never really kind of been. There's never really anyone who kind of gets behind anything besides the Titans. But then again, the Titans are also a very bandwagony team that people just jump on whenever they can. But I love to hear that, man, because obviously we know that Gold Coast has always been known as where sport comes to die. So I guess that's the biggest thing that I would love to see from you guys to change that overall.
Yeah, 100%. I think most of our games have been on a Saturday night or a Friday night, and there's so many other things you could be doing if say your local team's not going well. So like I said before, we want to make the Titans priority here, and we want fans coming to watch us. And I think that just comes back to winning and creating that winning environment.
Absolutely. And look, obviously the organisation has changed a lot in the last couple of years, like a significant amount to what we've experienced over the last decade or so. But specifically more into you, man, like what got you into rugby league? Was it just because I was listening to another podcast that you were doing where apparently your dad is actually from Victoria, so he would be an AFL fan, I would safely assume. Yeah. And then you come here to Queensland. Like, did you just kind of do it because you're in Queensland, or was there what got you into rugby league?
I think I always loved rugby league, but as a young fella, I tried out a lot of sports. I played rugby league, Oztag, never tried AFL or union, but I did tennis, cricket. I just loved being around sport and always doing something. But I was a footy fanatic as a young fella, and I just loved everything about the game. And as soon as I had a footy in my hand, I'd be happy. And I think that just grown as time got on, and I just played for the love of the sport. And I think it was about 13 or 14 when I went to PBC first of all, and that's when I really got a little bit serious about it. And I saw some of the boys graduate, the likes of Keegan Hipgrave and the ones before in Ryan James and Jordan Rapana, and that kind of kicked into gear, and I started taking footy seriously. And from there, it's just kind of taken off, and I've never lost any love for the game. It's always been my number one priority, and I love it.
Well, obviously, we've got a really good amount of schools in the Gold Coast too. Like, obviously, PBC, like you said, there's also Keebra. I think Marsden's coming up now too, with a couple of really good players as well. So it's good that we've always had this talent from the Gold Coast that has been able to shine through. And obviously, you're the next one who's stepping up to the plate here. So it's going to be awesome to see. But have you always been a Titans fan? Like, were you always dreaming of becoming a Titans fan, or was there And don't feel bad if there is another team that, as a young kid, you might have thought towards, the Broncos who are more successful and whatnot. But have you always wanted to be a Titans player?
Yeah, well, I've grown up for most of my life, I think, till 13 or 14, and I was a diehard Broncos supporter. And I grew up and took, there was some tough times there. But as I grew up and took footy more seriously, I had that desire to play for the Titans and represent my city that I've grown up in. And I think from that 13, 14 years of age, I've always wanted to play for the Gold Coast Titans, and I've been lucky enough to play for them. And I'm so grateful and honoured to be part of this club. And I'm really excited to represent them this year.
Yeah, no, I'm the same, man. Until 2009, when I was 2009, I was 15 years old. So that was when I kind of made the switch from the Broncos to the Titans, because I'm from Brisbane up until I was 12, and then I made the move to the Gold Coast. And I've always had this belief that this is kind of the time when the kids start rolling through, who have grown up, like yourself, obviously, who has grown up with the Titans as a franchise the entire time, and you're proud of the Gold Coast. I think this is what people didn't really understand early days in regards to our lack of support, that it was always going to tinker out around when we started to be unsuccessful again, because the young kids hadn't grown up with the team yet. So would you say you're a part of that kind of that culture on the Gold Coast now, where everyone is now becoming a Titans fan because we've had this team for as long as we have?
Yeah, well, it's pretty crazy. Growing up, Titans was always, I think, your last choice if you were a young fella, just because their junior systems and that were so poor. And if you were good on the Gold Coast, you'd end up at any other club but the Titans. And for my sake, I was at the Bulldogs for 3 years, and I did their HPU programs and come through. But when I got to 18, I saw a change in the Titans, and they started investing a lot more time into their juniors, and I wanted to be part of that. And now they've got they would have hundreds of kids, and I think a lot of kids that are good on the Gold Coast want to play for the Titans for that fact, and they've seen a lot of boys come through the systems with the likes of Jaden Campbell's, AJ Brimson, Phil Sammy, and that they're proven facts that the junior systems work. And I think a lot of kids are excited to be part of this club, and that's what you want, I think, coming through.
Yeah, well, I actually I was talking to a friend of mine, Rhonda, who's a part of the front line, the official supporter club of the Gold Coast Titans, and we were talking basically about, I was comparing what the Titans have been doing. I know the financial levels are completely and utterly different to what Manchester City utilised, but back in 2007, 2006, 2007, before that, Man City used to be terrible, and I would compare that with the Titans in a lot of aspects. And then there was a switch where they obviously got the money and then invested so much into the youth development, into the City of Manchester, into the growth of a lot of the individual aspects of the club. They started diversifying and, putting clubs in New York and then in Yokohama, in Melbourne, for Melbourne City as well. And I've seen a lot of comparisons in my kind of where I'm seeing it with the Gold Coast Titans, and the fact that now we've got the netball for the Titans, we've got the women's rugby league team now. I think we've got there's another team of some sort that I believe that is involved. Do you know what I'm talking about here?
Not the PDRL or anything.
Well, there is the PDRL as well. We've got a heap of different kind of organisations now that we've signed up alongside the Titans brand. And just so much it has gone on behind the scenes that has adjusted that I compare with Man City, and we all know how successful they've been. Do you feel like that comparison is relative to what we're seeing right now?
Yeah, I think it's definitely what we needed as a club. We needed to invest a lot more in our juniors, and the Gold Coast is such a talented region full of, whether it's rugby league, netball, AFL, soccer, it's full of great talents here. And I think the Titans are doing an outstanding job in investing time in all different sports. And it's also a great look for our club as well, rather than just being rugby league. It shows that we invest in other sports, and I think that comes back a good thing on us.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. The thing I can't wait to see what the women's team brings this year. I feel like it's really, even women's team this year, and I feel like everything to do with the club right now is very positive, and I'm loving to see it. It's been such a polar difference. So I guess what we've seen in the last 10 years, and as you know, obviously we've had a very tough time. But going back to yourself and transitioning from that youth product into now the team, and I guess you'd still maybe you think differently, but a lot of people would still consider you a lot of a youth product because you've only had those 4 games from last year.
Yeah.
But do you believe that how was the transition been between the Queensland Cup with Tweed and also with the Titans for that last weekend?
Yeah, it's been unreal. I think Justin was massive on my own development and just slowing everything down. And my first year of footy was tough at the Titans, given that COVID happened, and I didn't play a game all year, which was really tough. But it also allowed me just to slow everything down and really have no pressure on me to perform on a week-to-week basis, which at the time was really tough. But I think I put a couple of kilos on during that phase, and mentally I felt a lot better and a lot more confident going into the next year. And then the year after that was my first year at Cup footy, and I was fortunate enough to play with some really quality players in Herman Esiesi, Jai Whitbread, Tremaine Spry, and a lot of boys that come from the Titans, but also a lot of good ones at Tweed with Brent Wolf and Lamar and that. And we had a lot of success early on the year. I think we won 9 out of 10 games in our first 10 games before COVID happened, and we were going really well. And I think the team's going well. That kind of relates a lot to individual success. And I think I was able to play some good patches of footy there, and built a lot of confidence in me. And then obviously with Jamal getting injured as well, that kind of opened the door for me. And I was fortunate enough, I played Dragons, Cowboys and Broncos there, and not many people gave us much of a chance in any of them, but we were able to string 3 wins together, and it made my transition a lot easier. And then obviously South was a bit of a reality check. We got
wasn't a fun one, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely took a lot out of that game. And I think after that, Justin had my intentions in that at the top of it, and gave me a bit of a break there. And I think as tough as that was, we went Melbourne Knights into a final series, and I think I'm a pretty confident kid as it is, but I think that was the best thing for me at that stage. I got a bit of a taste for it, and at least going into off season, I knew what to expect moving forward and what things I can improve on. And yeah, it's been my third preseason now, and physically I'm feeling really good, and mentally I feel like I'm as ready as I can be for a full NRL season.
I think that you said there as well with the fact that you're a confident kid, you're backing yourself in. I think that's great, but I think that what Justin did there is probably the best thing for you as well, because obviously, yeah, look, we had those 3 wins and it was looking fantastic and the hype was there, and then we had that real bringing down, I think it's 36-6 where the Rabbitohs won that game. And then the game after, yeah, we had the Storm. And although we played well against the Storm earlier in the season, there is always that thing that, yeah, okay, you've lost that one game. You can kind of forget about that relatively quickly. But if you do 2 on the trot there against a really good Storm team, you might be thinking, okay, am I actually up to these standards? Yeah. And even though you have that belief, do you agree with what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. I think, and from like a different perspective as well, a lot of halves that come into the competition at a young age, that they get a lot of pressure on them from an early age. And like my mate Tommy did, and he got a lot of pressure put on him as an 18-year-old, and it backfired a little bit. And I think Justin's been so good the way he's developed me. He hasn't put any pressure on me from a young age, and he's just let me develop. And I think looking at it now, it's the best thing for me. And it would have broken me as a young fella, as a young 18-year-old. It would have been pretty tough to be playing first grade week to week, and rather than say now as a 21-year-old.
Absolutely. Well, another thing as well is that we were entrenched in a finals run too. A club that hasn't been in the finals since 2016, only made the one final since 2010. And I think that as well, being a young bloke, the fans, you obviously know what the fans can be like. They'll love you one day and they'll absolutely hate you the next day. And I think that, and not you, I'm just talking about in general, but I think that with the fact that we were such entrenching that finals run, we had that big game against the Knights and then so on. I think it was great for you to be able to sit back and see kind of what that was going to be like after you'd gotten that taste. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that Justin Holbrook, this is why I love Justin Holbrook, man. I think that he's such a fantastic man for the job at the Titans, that he just knows how to work the young players and also the older players. Because another thing that I'm going to bring up here is that in regards to pressure, did you ever find any pressure in regards to the Jamal Fogarty situation?
No, I've honestly been asked the question a lot, and I think our spine's been asked the question a lot as well. Like, obviously a young spine, and not many people have given us a chance, which is something we're thriving on at the moment. But I think we know we're putting in the work and building some really good combinations, and that's all we can really do at this point. And we're really excited as a spine. We know how much fun we can have if the team's going well. And we're young, but we're youthful. You got the likes of Jaden and AJ, who are just so exciting players, and also Aaron and Tanner there as well. And from my perspective, I don't really feel the pressure, I guess. I think it's more just excitement to play footy and on a week-to-week basis. And like I said before, I've grown up on the Gold Coast my whole life, and I've got that desire and passion to play for this team. And I just want to help bring success to it.
Yeah, I think that's a difference as well with you. You know, you want to play with this team. A lot of the time over the last 10 years, we have had a lot of players who just come here because it is, a place that they can get a contract. But obviously with you, and I feel like the same with obviously AJ, I've spoken with him quite a few times, and Tanner and Aaron, and also obviously Jaden Campbell now too. He's been fantastic, and it's just such a positive feel with this young core that they really want to play for this team, and it's more about the success of the team rather than the individuality that we've seen with a lot of players over the time. So I could mention a lot of names. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to mention names, but I know a lot of them. So that's. Do you think that's probably the best positive that you can take out of this club right now? The fact that everyone wants to play for them?
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing. I think we all have the common denominator of wanting to bring success to this club, and we've got so many local juniors that have come through, and like what I said, have that passion for bringing success to this club. And there's definitely a massive buzz around it. I've been here for 3 years now, and we were excited coming back first day of preseason. That was November 1st, and we knew the season was still 5 months away, and there was just that general buzz around the club, and it definitely hasn't faded. If anything, it's gotten bigger, and we're all so excited to just play footy now.
Yeah, well, look, I want to ask you in regards to last year, is there a game that you guys have specifically, is there like a couple of games or a specific game that you guys have directly related to kind of, I guess, focus on going into this year? Like, is there any specific games that you guys have thought this is one that we should focus on to realise how to go about it this year, I guess?
Honestly, not really. Justin's big on not forgetting the past and forgetting last year what happened, but he's big on building our own legacy. And if any game was to turn back on, I think it was that Warriors game. We had to win by 13 plus, and we ended up winning by a
42
ton
nil
there.
or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was massive, and that was a game where our top 8 spot was on the line, and we were able to deliver. But again, we don't really want to be in that situation again where we've got to win games. We want to get to halfway through the season, back end of the season, and we've cemented our spot in the top 8. And we're big on that. But yeah, he's not really too big on what happened last year. Rather than he's just focusing on creating our own legacy and what we can do this year to ensure a better result.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that Warriors game was unbelievable as a Titans fan, because we have been built up for so long to expect a loss there in that game, or expect a close one, like 10 points, and then we miss out by 1. But obviously, yeah, we shattered it and annihilated it, and that was great. You know, I think 2 other games for me that I know, obviously I know that you're saying that Holbrook doesn't really focus on, but I think that the 2 games that I saw a lot from this team compared to previous years was the Knights game, where although it was a tough loss, I still think we kind of needed a result like that I think that losses are just as important as wins sometimes, and especially for young blokes who are coming through, not to... Because I've spoken to Darcy Lussick before when he came into that Manly team back in 2011, I think, when they won. And he told me basically that he had this belief that the whole time that was just how it was always going to feel. Like, because they were winning, they won that year. And then it went downhill for him, I guess, because of the fact that he was led to believe all this stuff that wasn't necessarily true. So I think that Knights game was good. And honestly, man, I didn't believe we were going to win the NRL last year. So I thought that Roosters game was actually quite integral. And I think we've got a lot to learn from that. And I think it was a good experience.
Yeah, it was massive. I think from Darcy Luxick's point of view, it's so hard to create that winning culture and be up the top of the ladder, but it's even harder to sustain that. And we know how hard we've got to work to be able to get to that point. And I feel like we're putting a lot of work in at the moment to get better results. And I think it just comes back to being consistent as a team, and we're young and youthful, and I think that's only going to help us.
Absolutely. Well, as a player yourself, which player do you think currently in the NRL as a halfback do you kind of emulate aspects of their game? Like, who do you think is the peaky position, and what player do you think you try to emulate their aspects?
Nathan Cleary. I absolutely I froth Nathan Cleary and love everything about his game. And I've watched ridiculous amounts of video on his game. And the way he's just the way he controls the game and is able to manipulate it is just unreal. And that's definitely someone I'm trying to not replicate, but just take little parts from his game and add them into mine. I don't think you can really replicate someone else's game. As a halfback, you got to create your own style, but definitely bits out of his game. And Adam Reynolds is probably another one as well. I think my role in the team is going to be that controlling halfback that kicks well and defends well. And them two, between Adam Reynolds and Nathan Cleary, they do it the best out of any other half. And definitely. But Nathan Cleary is definitely the one, and I'm really excited, hopefully, to play against him this year as well.
Mate, I love watching him play. Honestly, I think he could be the best player to ever play the game on his current trajectory. He's very young still, and that's why I think it's such a big thing that you're saying that too. Like you're trying to grab aspects of his game and put them into your game, not wanting to be him though. I think that's a key thing that you just said there. You don't want to be him, but you want to take parts of his games and show it off and then put it into your own style. Because as we've seen from last year, you've got such big raps and you've got such big, height from everybody. And, you say you're confident, you say you handle the pressure really well. So look, I think that, it's such a great thing to hear, the up-and-coming halfback for the team come through and say, you know what, like I want to take that, but I also want to be myself. Yeah,
100%. I think you've got to make it in this game. You've got to be your own player, and obviously it's worked for you to get to this point as well. You haven't made it to the NRL without being half all right. So I guess staying confident in my own game as well.
Do you ever have like the jitters going up against guys like that, knowing that you love what they do, and then you play them, and then it's just like it's I guess, an ultimate realization.
Cowboys, Jason Tamalolo was meant to be playing lock, but he ended up playing back row on my edge. And I saw before the game, one of the coaches yelled out on the field, "Hey, Toby, you got Jason on your set." I'm looking at me like, "Mate, do you not think I know that?" Like, I'm looking at him thinking,
I saw that way before you did, man.
I'm thinking, what the heck? And then obviously, Adam Reynolds was the other one. We got teared up that game, but I obviously watched a lot of video on that before the game on him, and he's obviously one of the players that I look up to a lot, and he tore us to shreds that game. And I remember speaking to him after the game for a little bit, for 5 minutes or so, and I was still picking his brains after the game. And he's such a great bloke. But players like that, it's pretty surreal, to be honest, when you're playing. Like, you've grown up your whole life watching them kind of players, and to be able to play against them on a week-to-week basis, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Is there another halfback from before you kind of came into the game that you looked towards as a young bloke?
Yeah, Cooper Cronk. Cooper Cronk was my original idol growing up, and just his level of professionalism and the way he conducted himself on and off the field. And obviously, he had a pretty fair career as well. On top of that, he won 3 premierships in a row to finish his career, and I think he's the best ever half, in my opinion, to play the game. And I think a lot of areas of his game I definitely looked up to a lot.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good thing as well with him as well, that he did it at the Roosters, he did it for State of Origin, he did it on the international level, and also he did it obviously at the Storm. I meant to say the Storm first and the Roosters, but in the same sense, like, he was just able to do it everywhere, and I think that was great. But also, I think it would be something for players to really show that they can do it with that club the whole time too. That's the only thing with Cooper, is that he did make that change, but with his game style, man, like, he was just, I'll always remember that field goal. I'll always remember that field goal for Queensland.
Yeah,
oh my God, that was unbelievable, man. But
ridiculous.
Going back to the club, because we've got a couple of questions here from a few people that have sent something in on the BKRsport Instagram page, but I want to go back to the club, and I want to say, do you think this is, as a whole, in regards to on the field and off the field, better than what we were looking like in 2010?
Yeah, 100%. I think we've got a lot of stability right across the whole club, whether it's in the playing group, in the staff, in the marketing group. I think right across the board, there's that level of stability, and all the right pieces are in place for us to have a successful year. And I think it's just going to come down to us as players. We've worked as hard as we possibly can. I think there was a stat the other day. I think we've ran like 50 or 60 more Ks. 50,000, or 60,000 more Ks than what we did last year. And
yeah, wow.
We're putting in so much more work than what we did last year. And I think a lot of it is put more effective things and more things that are going to make us better as a team and individuals. And I think it's just, but at the same time, it's hard in pre-season because you don't necessarily see the results you want to see compared to what happens during the season. But I think we're giving us every opportunity to play well during the season and have a successful one.
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well. With the preseason, it's all well and good to think obviously how positive it is and whatnot, but then when the season comes around, obviously things can get hot pretty quickly. Do you think that the boys will be able to handle because there will be criticism that comes in those opening couple of rounds, especially with the Gold Coast, because a lot of people are talking nonsense because they don't watch our games. They watch one game here or there, and then they have an overall opinion about the club. Everyone's like that, man. But do you guys see any of that stuff? Like, do you pay any attention to that nonsense?
No, I think I'm pretty good. I don't really go on social media a lot or listen to. Everyone's got their own view and opinion, which is fair enough. But I try to keep it pretty internal and not really look at that stuff. But I think obviously it's a given that you're going to cop pressure and cop criticism as a footy player. And I think with the likes of Isaac Liu, Tino, Jared Wallace, Kevin Proctor, they've had pretty successful careers, and they're going to be massive factors for us in trying to keep us calm and keeping us on task for the season, especially if it goes a bit crooked at times there. I think they'll be massive factors in bringing us back into line and keeping us focused.
I think Isaac Lee was a big one there. Like, as soon as you said his name, like, he's just got so much experience from those Roosters days, man. The Roosters, they've had such an unreal organisation for so long. So I'm really looking forward to him coming through there. But all right, just before we get into the questions here from the fans, which team outside of the Titans do you think will be the biggest improvers this year?
Biggest improvers, I think Manly. Manly are going to be Manly or Roosters, probably. I think they're going to be the biggest. Roosters obviously got Kiri back as well, which is going to be massive, and they're going to be a tough side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Roosters are going to be phenomenal, man. And Manly, I'm kind of, how you going on Manly? I want to see them, because obviously Tom Trbojevic had such an unbelievable year last year. It was ridiculous. It actually should have been illegal how good that year was for Trbojevic. But I still have my queries on them. But who do you think, outside of the Titans, do you think will win the comp this year?
The Titans.
Outside of the Titans. Like, who do you think is your biggest challenger? Yeah, I know. But who do you think is your biggest challenger? Because we obviously are winning it this year, but who do you think will be in the grand final with us?
I don't think I can go past Melbourne. They're every team doubts them at the start of the year, but they've got such an unreal system in place, and I think it's a given they're going to have a successful year. And I think between them and the Roosters, I think they're going to be the toughest opponents. Sorry.
Well, too bad they're not going to really do anything special when it comes to winning, because we've got that one locked up there, as you did say. He came out with it, guys. You've got to believe it. But alrighty, next up here, we've got the questions here. So first one here, well, there's one that says, "Why are you so sexy?" from Noah Houston 23. Well, there's that one. If you want to answer that, you can answer that.
No response.
No response. No comment, mate. No comment. All right, AJ Luke Antonio says, "What are your goals, specifically, individually, for 2022?
I got my own goals that I kind of sat down with our team cultural guy, and I think I'm trying to keep them pretty internal. But from like a more out there perspective, I guess it's just to get my prep right every week and to be consistent with that, and just to keep my job as simple as possible and add value that in any capacity I can for the team. And I think I can do that. Well, I've done my role for the side.
Absolutely. And one that kind of transitions here is Faraz Alam, who says, "What's your goal and future and vision with the Gold Coast Titans long term?"
Yeah, it's obviously we've got such a great core bunch on the Gold Coast, and a lot of us have grown up our whole life, and we have, like I've said many times before, we've got that desire and passion to bring success to the Gold Coast. And like any other player in the competition, we want to win a premiership. And once we've done that, we want to be able to sustain that. And it's going to be, we can just see it. If we can bring success to the Gold Coast, we're going to have some good times ahead, I think.
It's going to be awesome. And last one here from CM Kelly. I'm not too sure if this is meant to be like a shot or not a shot, but he says emphasis on, I think he's giving you advice on how the team should run here. But he says emphasis on drills using Fafita and Jaden Campbell effectively compared to just throwing them the ball and hoping. I think what he's saying is, like, have you guys...
we've mixed it up. We definitely don't rely on just Davey to give him early footy and he do the rest. We've definitely got some plans and some structure in place to get them the footy at the best time, but also to use them pretty effectively for our side as well. And I think our structure and that we've got in place is really exciting, and the coaches and the coaching staff give us so much freedom and confidence just to play footy. And I'm so excited for it. I think Davey's dropped 4 or 5 kilos, and he's looking ridiculously fit, and Jaden as well. I think he's put on 5 kilos or so. So the boys, but not just them. I think the likes of Herman SES, he's dropped 7 kilos, and there's a lot of boys pushing for the spot, and that's what we haven't had in the past. It's been a matter of the coaching staff trying to pick 17 rather than this year. I think we've got 25 or 26 that could easily play NRL on a week-to-week basis, and that's what we need. We need everyone pushing for spots, and it definitely brings the best out of everyone.
Awesome, man. Well, I think that's going to do us, man. Obviously, so much positive kind of thoughts that are coming out of this club right now, which is amazing to see as we've kind of gone over here. Obviously, thank you very much for jumping on here and kind of letting us talk to you about what you've done and what you plan to do, and also the organisational level too.
No, thanks, brother. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Anyway, guys, we're gonna jump off for now. Obviously, we stream pretty much every game here on BKRsport. Plus, I'm going to be doing my vlogs again this year because I'll be back on the Gold Coast, living on the Gold Coast again. I've been stuck in New South Wales and whoop whoop for the last 2 years, unfortunately, but I will be back on the Gold Coast this year, so I'm very much excited for the vlogs. Obviously, guys, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're around here, shoot through your comments down below, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.